Alright. So, can we can talk... Nope, we've already done the talking. Okay, let's see. Okay, we can have a look at the trunk then. That's a very large traveling case, isn't it? Yes, it carries a lot of memories for me. Memories? What do you mean? Well, that's actually how I stowed away on this vessel. I was brought on board inside that case. Ah, yes. I see it says, "This way up" in Japanese. Which, in hindsight, I should have realized the foreign crewman wouldn't be able to read. It was turned over and over and over, and now it's tossed on the floor in here. Oh dear. Being a stowaway isn't as romantic as it sounds. Well, it was less painful than a Susato takedown. Oh dear. That won't do. Oh, what's the matter, Susato-san? Whenever I'm examining things, I always find myself so focused, I forget to look around properly. Ah yes, that's not good. I don't suppose you're as foolish as me in that regard, are you, Naruhodo-san? Well, I allowed the game to tell me how to investigate better. I'm sure you're careful to look all around using B and M, aren't you? Or just clicking on the arrows on the side of the screen. Now, let's investigate all corners of this cabin. Yes, let's do that. I suppose my field of vision has been rather small until now. What's this on the floor? What do you think this is? It looks like a broken piece of glassware. Whatever the thing was, it appears to have broken clean in two. The glass is such a beautiful color. It looks like a cute little... how do you say that? Netsuke? I probably said that wrong. Fashioned from a kimono outfit. I'm not sure that sounds like Kazuma. He wouldn't have secretly carried a cute little trinket like this around with him, would he? And the mark beside it. What is it, I wonder? It has a sort of brick-like hue. Yes, you're right. It is the color of brick, isn't it? Even though I don't see anything of the same color anywhere else in the cabin. Hey, what do you have to say? Perhaps that's she with this Russian crewman mates at the scene of the crime. Excuse me. What? I was wondering how it's going. The investigation, I mean? Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes. But it's not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal asking investigator for information about this crime, very funny. Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a joke. He doesn't appear to be laughing either. He's convinced you're guilty. You might have useful information though. I have to keep trying. So, last night, did you notice anything out of the ordinary at all? Niet! Of course not. Now, back to corner of room and make silent. I say no more to you. Did I hit a nerve? Just for a minute there, he seemed a little flustered. Ooh, okay. I wonder what's up with that. Oh, I would not know how to say that. It's the Japanese word for justice. The brushstrokes are straight and true, just like Kazuma. Yes, his calligraphy always was a reflection of his heart. Yet you, can you really look at those characters without feeling shame, knowing who drew them so thoughtfully? Of course I can. I mean, I'm innocent, so why shouldn't I be able to? Even though you stowed away on this ship. How are you gonna bring that up, are you? I can't win. Let's see. Got stuff on the floor. That's my dinner from last night. A roast chicken. It was really tasty. Yes, it was very delicious, wasn't it? But, did you eat it on the floor here? I'm not a dog, Susato-san. I ate at the table, of course. Which begs the question of when and how the plate ended up on the floor. But Kazuma-sama didn't like chicken at all, did he? No, that's right, so he didn't touch it. Which meant all the more for me. Oh no, does that mean? Poor Cosmo-sama spent his last night on this earth with an empty belly? It's just too horrible, because that's the problem here. Not so much that he died, but that he died on an empty stomach. Okay then. Ugh, now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach. Here's his sword. That's Cosmo-sama's precious sword. He never went anywhere without it. Yes, he was always saying that a Japanese man's katana is his soul. I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on this trip. I suppose that shows just how important it was to him. And now he's gone, but I'm not ready to let his spirit go just yet. Yawning again. He's knocked over books. The books have fallen over on the shelf. Look, they've all toppled the same way. Hey, what's this? I sent you some god of the sea? Although he's fallen over as well. Yes, it's almost as if the whole shelf has been ransacked and everything mown down at once. I wonder if perhaps it was Cosmo-sama doing his morning sword training, do you think? I seriously doubt it. Then perhaps it was you, Naruhodo-san, in a fit of rage. I wouldn't have bothered leaving the wardrobe just to mess up a few books and a statue. Could the way these things have been thrown about have anything to do with the case, I wonder? Well, I'll just set everything straight again. I don't like to see a mess. Ah yes, let's tamper with the crime scene, why don't we? That's clearly messed up a little bit. When I went for help and the crewman forced the door open, this bolt's been firmly closed. It's quite a small bolt and not particularly sturdy, and it just slides across to secure the door shut. But still, with the door bolted, there would be no way to get in or out of the cabin, that's for sure. It's no wonder everyone suspects me. She's got the glare again. When she glares at me like that, I feel tense. I feel tense all up and down my spine. I was reading that kind of weird. I remember reading once in a detective novel. The culprit used a needle and thread to draw a bolt across from outside the room in a situation like this. Yes, that's a clever trick, isn't it? I'm an avid reader of detective stories myself. But the door of this cabinet and its frame are made of metal, and they sealed together perfectly. There would be no possibility of using that needle and thread trick here, I'm afraid. That glare once again. When she glares at me like that, I feel pins and needles all up and down my spine. Here's his body. Well, where it used to be. Did Cosmo write that before he died? It looks like it's written in ink. He must have knocked the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. Then I suppose he wrote this message by dipping his finger in the spillage. Poor Cosmo-sama. No doubt he was in terrible pain. It's almost unbearable to imagine it. I suppose he was trying to leave some kind of a clue in his final moments, was he? I'm sorry, partner, but I can't read your writing. Yeah, it's almost as if it's a different language or something. I don't think that's Japanese, Naruhodo-san. What? Then what language is it? It pains me to admit it, but I don't know. It's not a foreign script I'm familiar with. What does it mean, I wonder? I might hazard a guess and say he's not the one who wrote it. What's this? These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Berea. It's essentially a list of requests from the captain to all passengers on board. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. What? Why are you staring at me? Oh, sorry, I was just thinking. Are you more of a dangerous object or a pet? Wow, okay. I can't decide. Neither? One thing's for sure. Either way, I wasn't supposed to be in here. What else can we look at? It's a messy table, I guess, but let us look a little over this way. That's the wardrobe. It's some 2 weeks since we set sail from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe the entire time, Naruhodo-san? I think living isn't quite the right description. Oh, no, I suppose not. Although it must have been rather exciting, making this voyage in your own secret hideout. The trouble was, I never knew when a member of the crew might come in. So yes, I did basically have to live in the wardrobe. And last night was no exception. But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin. No, sadly not. Let's see. There's this thing right here. This is... yes, it's a bell cord contraption, I think. What do you mean, contraption? I read about it in a book I was studying that talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which you can pull to ring a bell to summon servants. Really? That sounds almost magical. What you thinking? Shall we give it a little try? Yes! In the interest of cultural research, obviously. I suppose nobody comes for lowly Japanese people. No, I'm sure it's just that everyone is busy, that's all. This looks like a vent. I think that's some kind of opening for a ventilator. A hole through which fresh air can circulate into the cabin. Isn't that a little odd? Oh, I'm cutting that sneeze out. What do you mean? Well, this ventilator, if that's what it is, looks like it must connect to the next door cabin. Yes, it would appear to. You're right. Excuse me. But if its purpose is to allow fresh air into the room, surely it could be connected to the outside. That's true. Perhaps it's so that rain and spray don't find their way in when the seas are rough, or something like that? I suppose, maybe that's it. And then, the desk. This is where dear Cosmo-sama would have sat whenever he was writing. A London diary. Poor Cosmo, he didn't even make it to his destination. It looks as though the last entry is incomplete. Which means, what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? Let's see what it says. It could be a valuable clue. Tackled again. That's out of the question. What? Cosmo-sama may have departed this world, but you must not read his private thoughts. But what if it's something important? Something relevant to the case? Alright, I won't read it. Poor Cosmo-sama. I don't like prying into people's personal matters either, but in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? Oh! Who is that? Who's that? He wasn't there a minute ago. I'm pretty sure we saw him just a little bit earlier. As far as I can tell, it looks like he might be European? Oh, how did he... You've noticed the man too, have you? I have no idea who he is or how he got in here, but he looks suspicious. And tall. Suspiciously tall. Naruhodo-san! Don't tell me. Do you really not know who that is? Well, no. I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. He doesn't look like a member of the crew. There's something very unusual about him. And is he investigating Cosmo's desk, or is he just playing on it? I can't tell. Well, in that case, we simply must talk with him. Am I just imagining it? Or does Susanoo-san look almost uncontrollably excited? And by the way, I expect that you've noticed it already, but just in case, if you press space on people when they're in the crosshairs, you can converse with them. Oh, thanks. Alright then, I'll get that suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself. Maybe I've just been clicking on people. Not pressing space. Oh, please do. Alright, what you doing? Excuse me. Okay. I'm gonna attempt a British accent. I cannot make any promises it will be any good. Because it certainly won't. But I will try. Excuse me, do you have a moment? Shh! This is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly. Yes, perhaps that would be for the best. Oh! Jump scares! I didn't get the chance to read that. Ah! What exactly were you doing on Cosmo's desk just now? Oh, what are you doing? Ah, I see. Fascinating. Sorry? What do you see? Feels like he's looking right through me. Oh yes, everything is clear now. The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive. Just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? What? And now, whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh, well that's true at least. But how? How the deuce did I know that, perhaps? It was really a most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining. Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else? But of course, a great many things. There is no mystery, my dear madam. For example, you have fled your native land of Russia, being as you are, a merciless revolutionary. You leave 16 victims of assassination in your wake, and now travel to England to blow up the Crystal Tower. And when the beribboned occupant of this very cabin discovered your identity, you ended his life too. Yes, I believe that summarizes the facts beautifully. No need to hide the truth now. Nothing deceives these eyes. See, I told you, I can try, but I will fail with a British accent. Just to be clear, you aren't talking about me, are you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name? I don't even see one person who fits the bill. So it's true. It was you who did this to Kazuma-sama. What? And you're plotting a revolution too. It's shameful behavior, Naruhodo-san. Absolutely wicked. No, listen, there's no way And thrown to the floor again. Now explain yourself. Tell me everything. This is ridiculous. Okay, can we get some answers out of this dude? How could you do it? For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary, obviously. Oh, forgive me. And as for you, what kind of deduction is that? You're just saying the first thing that came into your head. Ah, but was I not right? Whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you do find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Do you not? Well, generally. But you kind of got the specifics wrong. Well, yes, maybe. Ah! There you have it, you see. What do you make of that? Well, to be honest, this ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. So, I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed, an observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon the very Let's take that again. My method is founded upon the observation of trifles, you see. I announce my findings with a brassy certitude. And more often than not, I'm right. I don't think you introduced yourself. Ah, my apologies. How remiss of me. I'm none other than the greatest detective of the century, known to men and women the world over. The inimitable Sherlock Holmes. So, it's really you? The actual Sherlock Holmes? The very same. The inimitable, actual Sherlock Holmes. Do you know this man, Susato-san? The most famous detective in the world? No, Haruto-san, of course I do. There's nobody who hasn't heard of him. What planet have I been living on, then? We must ask him what he's deduced. He will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure. Really? I feel uneasy about this. Okay, now we get to finally talk to you. Alright, so-called great detective. So you're a great detective, are you? Sorry, what was your name again? Indeed, I'm none other than the only Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I see, you're German? Herlock, was it? No, I have no air. I mean, I have hair. Please, call me Holmes. You need all about my exploits in this exciting London publication. Oh yes, Rant's magazine, full of wonderful short stories and interest articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I have it sent from England especially. Ah yes, here it is. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So, you're the protagonist in a series of short stories then? Indeed I am! And you read so many of your own stories, you start to think you really are a detective. Make no mistake, I'm not the poor deluded fellow you take me for. Your inference is backward. Backward? My trusted biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in the magazine. You have a biographer? Do you? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name of Dr. Wilson, presently keeping shop in London. Dr. Wilson? Uh-oh. Yeah, about that. I must say, thanks to that publication, I've been fantastically busy of late. Why, at this very moment, I am returning from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? I can't work out whether I should take this man seriously or not. Deduction, you see, is to me a science, logical reasoning in its purest form. A science? Really? The astute observer notices even the most subtle of reactions in his subject. A furtive glance, a twitch of a muscle, a slight inclination of the posture. Fingernails, arm sleeves, furrows in the skin, all these things are data. Right. And the trained logician makes deductions from this data in the blink of an eye. The ultimate conclusion is, without fail, the truth. As I demonstrated only a few short moments ago. How can you look me in the eye and claim that? So you see, I have a turn both for observation and for deduction. And fame. That is what makes me the one, the only, Sherlock Holmes. Okay, well, what? Okay. So these let's hear about these deductions you made about Cosmo's death. Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet? Have I managed to deduce anything, my dear fellow? Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in his most cunning hiding place? That's right. It was none other than the great detective before you now, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Ah, I see. In other words, I'm in these now because of him. Well. When I became anxious about Cosmo-sama this morning, I summoned all the crew members to force the cabin door open. And I concealed myself among their number, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes, luckily for everyone, the great detective Sherlock Holmes was on board. And the handcuffs seem to be an excellent fit, Master Naruhodo. Ugh. At the very moment I laid eyes on the scene, 2 facts were immediately apparent to me. Oh, really? 2 facts, you say? Oh, tell us more and the deduction just now. But let's start with those facts. Mr. Holmes, tell us, please, what 2 facts were apparent to you when you came into this cabin this morning? Ah, yes. But first, let us be precise. The 2 facts in question were immediately apparent to me. Yes, I understand, but what were they? Allow me to elucidate. The 2 facts that I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the scene of the crime were as follows. Number 1, the cabin was locked from within, rendering escape with the culprit out of the question. Number 2, the victim was Russian, and killed following a dispute with an acquaintance. Hold on, Mr. Holmes, what made you think the victim was Russian? Observe the dying message left by the victim on the floor. Yeah, I don't know, I would not know how to say that. That is the Russian word for wardrobe. Do you really think Cosmo Samiko left a dying message in Russian? In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. But this young man, Russian. Cosmo-sama was Russian, was he? Yeah, okay. Initially, I considered, Guard, whatever. Maybe the name of the killer. A certain Robert Guard, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe, there at least, where you found Mr. Naruhodo sleeping soundly. Quite so! I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian too? I observed that you were wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you were acquainted. And if my memory serves, that outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people. Our school uniforms are the traditional dress of the Russian people? I had no idea. And I had no idea a detective could get something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim and the message, that I might analyze it for possible hidden details. Oh. Here he is. This was taken immediately after the young man was discovered, before the body was removed. Yes, Cosmo had already been taken away when I woke up. This is the first time I've actually seen him like this. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, thank you. Alright, we got that as evidence then. Nice. Can I ask you something, Mr. Holmes? What, pray? You mentioned Russia before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary fleeing from Russia and all that. Ah, yes. The train of reasoning that I can't speak. God. Ah, yes. The train of reasoning there led me to the truth. Would you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? Nope. Don't know what that is. Certainly, if it interests you. Many times, I'm not Russian. I don't speak Russian. Neither do I. Yeah, now tell us about that deduction then. Can we talk about your deduction before? The things you concluded about me, I mean? The now famously accurate, troubling predicament you find yourself in. Actually, it was the other details that I was more hoping to discuss. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and assassin of 16 part. Ah yes, the more sordid details. It was a fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads, Revolutionary Villain Bolshevik? I don't know. Flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night the young Russian was murdered. So when was Cosmo a Russian? It sounds like Mr. Holmes has concluded he was Russian because of what Cosmo-sama wrote on the floor. It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit of this crime was the same merciless revolutionary. One who would kill the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you. Violent Bolshevik. No, 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 how could it be me? I don't look anything like this man. Just look at his face. Well, you are fierce and revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learnt to revolutionize your appearance as well. Ugh, please. And I might add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? Well, that's because I'm a stowaway. What about the other details? The 16 victims of assassination and blowing up the Crystal Tower? Ah yes, the journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all those particulars in the article. The deeds the man has perpetrated thus far, and those he is plotting. Yes, everything about this revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There could be no mistake. Do revolutionaries usually agree to interviews with newspaper reporters, I wonder? And what about the part where you said I was just returning from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik has recently returned after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Where even is it anyway? This Afghanistan place. Here, take the paper for yourself, as a little memento of this great deduction. Oh, thank you? I've absorbed all that is of interest to me within the pages, but I see no rubbish bin nearby. Well, I guess we'll take that then. And you may find the article on the back of the page of... I can't speak, I swear. And you may find the article on the back page of interest as well. On the back? Cast your eye over it sometime the interest takes you, though you may need someone to interpret. It's all written in Russian. I couldn't hope to read it. I suppose it wouldn't hurt just to glance at the article. There might be a picture or two. Well, I guess we'll do that then. Alright, cool. We have looked at it now. Okay, now what were you investigating? Before we started talking, you were examining Cosmo's desk, weren't you? Cosmo? Oh yes, the victim. Yes, the Russian victim. With a Japanese name. Did you notice anything useful? Anything at all? Observe, for a moment, the desktop of the victim. His computer? We see that the victim was engaged in pinning some text. London diary. Cosmo was keeping notes of the trip. Ah, but... I don't think you should read his private writings. It could upset people. Tragic! And something you ought perhaps to elucidate before the act of reading. You mean you've read it already? It is my business to know what other people do not. Yes, believe it or not, I know a smattering of Japanese. Oh, I see. Well, you're about to know what a Susato takedown is. Or not. I guess Holmes here gets spared the Susato takedown. Susato-san? Aren't you going to throw the detective with one of your trademark takedowns? I'm sorry, Naruto-san. What on earth do you mean? Life is so unfair. Anyway, to return to the matter at hand, namely this diary belonging to the victim. It would appear the final sentence is incomplete, as if the author were cut short. Tell me, what is the nature of the writing? Pray, be precise as to details. Oh, but I thought you knew Japanese. A smattering, dear boy, a smattering! Sayonara, bonsai, mikado! Nado. I trust you're suitably impressed. But this diary is littered with complicated-looking characters, of which I can read precisely none. So what was all that showing off about before then? If you'd be so kind as to show me, I would be happy to read it to you, Mr. Holmes. I'm much obliged, my dear madam. The final entry here in Cosmo-sama's diary consists of just two short sentences. The first reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. A whistling sound? These are very deep waters. Pray go on. The second sentence reads, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? What on earth does that mean? I have no idea. I've never heard that expression before. The ventilator grill, you say? The man was presumably referring... Yes, to that. To the lattice there on the wall, which connects to the adjoining cabin. Yes, the adjoining cabin. Alright, that's in evidence now. Alright, I'm actually not entirely sure how long I've been recording for, so I'm going to stop in a little bit. But after this bit. So, I believe I've given you enough to consider for the time being, at least. Do you have somewhere to go? As it happens, the victim's writings in his diary have piqued my interest. The matter warrants further investigation, I believe, and if I am still too long, the seasickness takes hold. Oh, I suppose. You're thinking of investigating the cabin next door, which the ventilator connects to? Great detectives are a curious breed. Our minds rebel at stagnation. We crave mental exaltation. So yes, I intend to investigate, hence the truth will become clear soon enough. Do you think perhaps that we could go with you? No, that would be somewhat complicated. What? But why? A simple glance at your wrists should reveal the answer. Yeah. Oh. These. After all, you're the prime suspect in this matter. No? There's no point in trying to turn it into a question. You're the one who decided I was the culprit in the first place. Whatever do you mean? I have no recollection of naming you as the culprit at any point. You must be joking. You just said it only a moment ago. Dear me, you're clearly misguided. I would have no cause to say such a thing. Well, actually, Mr. Holmes, I did hear you say that too. You're quite sure? Well, that's very strange. I wouldn't have said you had the face of a criminal, you know. Not really? So what, were you looking at my knees before? Some great detective you are. Well, anyway, that was then and this is now. What do you mean? What I mean, sir, is this. If you are the culprit, then you must play the part more convincingly. Roll over and accept your fate. Now he's just being plain rude. Well, off he goes then. Yeah. Having just laughed in my face, his sense of humor is as twisted as his name. Now, Naruhodo-san, what are you just standing there for? We must go and investigate the cabin next door as well. Are you forgetting something? What about these? There's no way I can... Hiya! Knocking me to the floor once more. After Kazuma-sama spent his dying moments struggling to leave us a clue, you're willing to give up? You're just going to roll over and accept your fate? Ugh. As if you gave me any choice in the rolling over part. I think we still have some investigation to finish off in here first, don't we? Well, let's carry on examining what we can in this cabin while we wait for a chance to slip next door. A good idea. The situation doesn't look good for me, but there are still things I can do to help myself. And I owe it to Kazuma to do everything I can to find a way out of this, and bring the real culprit to justice. Oh, hello. Is that... Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? Oh, no, it's just that crewman standing by the door. I can't help feeling I've seen him somewhere before. Oh, yes, you're right. He does look familiar. Excuse me, sir. Oh. I think we've seen it. Yeah, we've seen him before. Yes? What can I do for you? Oh, yeah. I recognize that face, but it can't be. You still got that bloody cough, I see. It is! I didn't know you were here, Inspector Hosonaga. Hello again. What are you doing here? I don't remember what voice I gave him. I think that should be my line. I was so stunned when I saw you, my heart stopped. It nearly stopped? I hope. I received some special orders to go undercover as a member of the crew on board this ship. Again? You certainly seem to enjoy undercover work, Inspector. If there's anything I can do to help you, please ask. I never expected to see this man on board. But perhaps his presence can help me out of this hopeless situation. Yeah, well, we'll have to do that next time. Alright, so that is what we'll do. Next time, we'll speak to him. Maybe he can help us out of this cabin. And then hopefully that will give us a chance to have a look at the cabin next door. Alright, see you guys then. Take care, everybody.